Alright folks, so it's 4:59 in the a.m. and we've been in the car for like 15 minutes. We're going to the hospital because I have my thing today and I'm terrified and yeah, that's the moral of the story.
But she has her big girl panties on.
No, actually they're at home, but it's a green light. So on last Wednesday, I did go for an MRI, and since last year, Michael and my mom and I have always, like, it's been like a running joke, like, oh, you have to wear your big girl panties, blah, blah, blah. So we get into the car on Wednesday, and, because she picked us up at our house, and there's, like, a present sitting on the front seat, and it's, like, wrapped and whatever, and I'm like, oh, what's that? She's like, oh, it's for you, open it. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? So I open it. There's a pair of, like, full-on granny panties, like, not even just, like, boy cut shorts or like bikini cut underwear, like granny panties, like that silky material that like old ladies wear. I'm sorry if you wear those. I don't know if you do. But I'm just saying, it was like full on granny panties. And she took fabric puffy paint and wrote on the ass like just as big girl panties, and then like decorate. Oh my god, it was so funny. I was dying. And then she found online this shirt, which obviously she got for me, and it's just a t-shirt, but it says on it, like, I'm wearing my big girl panties. It's the funniest thing of life, and I was dying laughing. It was so funny. And, yeah, that's that. But, no, Mom, I'm not wearing them. They are at home.
I don't want to hear any complaints then, because you had those big girl panties to put on, and if you choose not to wear them.
There you go. On a lighter note, my hair is now long enough that I can put my bangs to the side and it doesn't look insane, and I'm really happy about that. So there you go. My hair grows pretty fast, so I was thinking about it, like, this is like, because it was shaved completely, right? Like, that's a year, but then also, like, I trimmed my hair, my bangs, to when I just stabbed myself in the eye. When I got straight across bangs, I trimmed them so they weren't too long. So, really, they're longer than they appear. Alright, so I look insane with my band-aids on my forehead. Michael's in the background making a weird face. So basically what they did was, they put this metal frame on my head and they screwed it in to my skull in the front and in the back. So I essentially have, like, holes. She's the size of, like, if you took, like, a pen and jabbed yourself with that, don't do that, please. But if you did, the same size hole that it leaves what I have front and the back. And, they said that the scars should be about the size of, like, if you had a pimple, so it shouldn't be too bad. Right now I have a really bad headache, though, which is apparently normal, but sucks. And, yeah, when I went in, I told them that, you know, like, my veins are really hard to work with. It's really hard whenever anyone gives me needles or IVs or anything for them to get what they want, because they can never find a vein. So my left arm is the ideal arm to do it in, but I had a bruise there from my MRI last week, so she was like, oh, do it in your other arm. It didn't in the IV, I guess they thought was in the vein properly, but it wasn't, because when I went to have my CAT scan done and they put the contrast dye in, it like went all into my muscle and the tissue instead of into my vein, so my arm is swollen, which is fun. And it's to the point where, like, usually it hurts to bend the arm that had the IV, but that's, like, not even remotely painful compared to how my arm is swollen and it hurts to bend. Then I went for an angiogram, which was a lot better than the two I had at St. Mike's. For those, I was awake and whatever. At this one, they, like, gave me so many drugs that I was just sound asleep for the whole thing, so I don't remember anything. And then I came back, and after an angio, you're not allowed to, like, sit up for 4 hours because they cut an artery in your leg open. So I was sitting for about an hour and a half before they took me to my Gamme knife, and they took me there. They did that, and then they let me sit for the next, however long until I was okay to go home. So now it's 2:53. I'm starving because I haven't eaten, but I'm really nauseous. Not nauseous, but, like, my stomach hurts because I was sick. I don't know if I'm going to show you guys a picture of me with the thing on. but if I did, you've already seen it. If I haven't, then basically it's like a metal frame. I'm sure you can search it like online, Gamme knife frame or whatever, and see what it looks like. But basically what they do is like they put this huge frame on your head, right? And it goes like across the bottom and all four sides and across the bottom on each side. You can't like see your mouth or anything. So when I was in the Gamme machine, I was like, oh my god, I could feel myself getting nauseous. And I mean, I've been nauseous enough since all my brain stuff has happened to know that like there is a nauseous where you just feel sick, and then there's a nauseous where you're going to be sick. So I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna barf everywhere. So the second I got out of the Gamme knife thing, I was like, I need something so that I don't puke everywhere. And they were trying to give it to me, but I was laying on top of the cord for my IV, so it wasn't dripping properly, so I wasn't getting anything. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I'm gonna barf, and I turned over and I started puking everywhere. And like, they don't want you to choke on it since this thing is, the frame's on your head. So I'm like sitting there barfing, and they're trying to unscrew the frame from my skull to get it off my head, and I'm like still puking. And then the wounds, like, they're supposed to take one out at a time and put pressure on it. Because I was being sick, they took them all out at once. They're just like blood gushed. It was gross. So I mean, I don't think you can see it now. They cleaned up my forehead pretty well, but the back of my hair is all like crusty with blood, which is great. And I can't do anything about it for 24 hours, so that's always fun. And Michael and my mom had a very uneventful day of waiting room sitting. How was that? Is that boring? Waiting room sitting?
It's, you know what's interesting? It's good for people watching, and we heard some funny conversations. And
oh, my mom,
some inefficiencies.
She texted me this one conversation between this guy and the clerk at the desk, the reception desk.
Well, Jess, you should have heard this conversation that we heard. The guy was like, I just had an x-ray, and the lady told me to come up here to get a copy for myself, and, you know, and now you're telling me to go back downstairs, and then they're going to tell me to come up here. Listen, I'll just give you $10. Just give me a copy of this thing right now. I'll give you $10.
And the girl's going, but the cashier's downstairs, I can't take money.
Oh,
I don't
my
care.
God.
I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. He lost. He went downstairs.
That's so funny. Well, the one that my mom told me was this guy who had a piece of paper that said what he had to do before his, what was he having done?
He was having an ultrasound.
An ultrasound. And it said, like, come with a full bladder. Because usually, like, for me, I had to fast, right? And so the lady's like, he's like, is my appointment on time, you know? It says to become with a full bladder. And she's like, oh, no, you're not supposed to, it's supposed to be empty. And he's like, well, the paper I have says it has to be a full bladder. And she's like, no, it's supposed to be empty. And he's like, what the hell? And then she looks at the paper and she goes, oh, it's not highlighted. You only have to follow the highlighted instructions. And he's like, does it say that anywhere? And she's like, no, you're just supposed to know that. Like, how is someone just supposed to know that? I wouldn't just know that. That's the most retarded thing in the world. Can I get out of this lane? It's far too bumpy.
And he proceeded to go on and tell her about how that he could not possibly be the only person who had this problem, and didn't know that you only followed the highlighted instructions, and maybe they need to change their procedure.
Yeah, or put that on the paper.
Yeah.
Like, follow highlighted instructions. That's what her did. Anyways, so, yeah, now we're just going back home, and I'm going to have 2 days of doing nothing, which is going to be super boring. So it's 2 days post Gamme knife, and right now my mom and I are doing my niece's room, so we're just going to buy some things. But anyways, we're in the car. I only have 2 little scars on my forehead, one there and one there. My headache today is not so bad. Yesterday it was killer. The day before it was like I don't know how I survived that headache. It was so disgusting. My friend, her boyfriend actually went through Gamme knife not too long ago. Because it's nice knowing someone who's been through like literally the same thing as you. I mean, I know lots of people go through different things, but it was nice to know that someone who actually went through the same thing and like knew how I was feeling and knew how, like, literally how the headaches felt and all that stuff. So that was good. Yesterday I was really swollen. I still am, so I have my glasses on. I guess I can show you. Okay, yesterday first, my left eye was perfectly fine. It was normal. My right eye was really swollen to the point where, like, my eye was, like, halfway shut. Like, but it wasn't halfway shut like my eye closed this way. My eye closed, like, on an angle, so it was weird. This morning I woke up, and I'll put some pictures in of yesterday and today, actually. This morning I woke up, and my eye was completely swollen shut, and my other eye was half open. My mom gave me an ice pack, so I held that on it for a while. The swelling did go down. And it's now like 1:15, so it's not as bad. You can see the swelling is still like it's still really swollen. This eye is still a bit shut. My other eye is still really droopy, and you can see that, like, there's no, like, socket, I guess, where your eyeball socket is. Like, you know how, like, on a skull, like, your eyeball, like, indents or whatever. Mine's just kind of flat. It's kind of weird. But apparently that happens because it happened to me last time I was in the hospital, too. All the freezing that they put in your brain, well, not your brain, but in your skull, in, like, your forehead, it drips, gravity pulls it down, and so like the next place it goes is to your eyes, and eventually it drains out. When I was in the hospital last time, it drained out, like, almost immediately. It was like an hour or two later, and I was completely fine again. Obviously it's getting worse this time. It does seem to be coming out. It's really windy, hold on. It does seem to be coming out through my tear ducts, which is kind of painful. It stings a little bit. Occasionally, like, I will just be sitting there and it's like I'm crying, but I'm not crying, and I guess it's the freezing coming out, and it burns my eyes, like it stings, so that's a very strange thing. Other than that, I think, I don't know, I wasn't allowed to wash my hair. I can wash my hair today, finally. I couldn't get the wounds wet before. They did bandage them up. I think I showed, yeah, I vlogged in the car on the way after the Gamme knife. So I did have the band-aids on. They came off when I was sleeping. Well, one did, so I took the other one off last night. So they were off for yesterday. And then, what else, Mom? The back of my head, like, they said, essentially the holes are, I mean, you can see right now how big the holes are, but it's like someone stabbed you with a pen, and, like, the tip imprint of the pen, that's, like, how big the holes are in the back of my head, too. So she's like, don't, you know, stick your fingers in and fiddle around with them. Like, why anyone would want to do that? First of all, I think it'd be painful. Second of all, I think it'd just be creepy and gross. Like, I don't want to touch it. Gross me out. But yeah, so my mom's like laughing at me, but it's true. So the back of my hair is kind of like, they had put my hair into ponytails to get the thing onto my head.
Pigtails.
And pigtails? Yeah, pigtails. To get the frame on. And when they took the frame off and it was bleeding, it like dried, crusted, it like dried in my pigtails that were still in my hair. So it like dried in the shape. So I took them out, but they were still kind of there. So I tried brushing it a bit this morning. It was like really stuck and not working. So I just kind of like brushed the top layer of my hair and covered up the crusty blood
so we're
parts.
Going out with crusty blood in your hair. It's like a walking horror movie.
So nasty. But apparently I covered it up well enough. My mom said you can't see it, so that's good, because like I wouldn't want anyone to see crusty blood in my hair. That'd be nasty. I don't want to see crusty blood in anyone's hair. That'd be so gross. That's kind of where that's at. But I can wash it tonight, which is good. And yeah, so I don't know. I kind of like tried to make it look like I styled it, even though, you know, all I just twisted and pinned it back because I don't want to get too much like pressure on my head, because it still kind of hurts. It's weird, the freezing is coming out now. They put in 2 injections of freezing, 2 different kinds. Like, well, they actually did 8 injections of freezing, because they froze each spot for just like the local anesthesia, whatever, anesthetic, and then they put like long term so that it stays frozen a bit longer. So that, I guess, is starting to come out, and it feels really strange. It's like, you know, when your like hand or foot goes to sleep, and it's like, before it gets like all pins and needly, like you touch it and it numb feeling. My whole head feels like that. When I touch my head, it's like, what the hell's happening? So that's really strange, but other than that, I think it's pretty standard. Yeah, so that's it, and that's it, right, Mom?
That's it.
That's it.